welcome everybody. Welcome to our Q&A session about Renee's latest courses. Actually, your anomalous action course is also one of your latest courses, isn't it?
It was, yes. They all came in a row for sure, but I didn't really promote the anomalous action challenge too much. And I kind of felt as though these two offerings that came after, they all just go so well with each other that it was a good time to add a little emphasis to the AAC as well. So yes, we will talk about the quantum clearing method, the anomalous action challenge, and the magic materialization, rapid materialization magic. So yeah, Tirza, you want to get started and then we can start taking questions?
All right. As we get started, would you like to give a super brief introduction to each course so people who maybe are just joining us will know what they are?
Yeah, sure. Sounds good. Everyone, I'm going to mute all of your mics. Tirza, you might have to unmute yours if it mutes yours as well. And if you have a question, if you could raise your hand, I believe there's an option down there somewhere. It might be reactions.
It's at the bottom. It's called reactions. If you tap on reactions, one of those is a raise your hand feature.
Yeah, so if you have a question when we open for questions, go ahead and do that, or you could type your question into the chat box and we'll also answer questions that way. So these three offerings, I've come to realize that, I did the Reality 2.0, which is the core concepts, the Mo Money course, Becoming Magnetic, Tufty. Those are kind of like the concepts in action of the actual reality transurfing, modality. And then what has come after that, the AAC, rapid materialization magic, and the quantum clearing method are sort of to attack what I perceive as the holes in reality transurfing. So the quantum clearing method is obviously getting rid of your internal junk, if you will, that's probably holding you back from achieving results with transurfing, because you can read the book and listen to the audios and take the courses and still not exactly be, seeing the results that you want. And I perceive this primarily to be from things like limiting beliefs and programming and all that stuff that kind of holds us back from utilizing the knowledge to our fullest extent, is the easiest way to say it. And then the anomalous action breakthrough, this is actually something that stemmed from, I guess the easiest way to describe it is the suspended state. So sometimes I've noticed that a lot of people get through the knowledge and then they're like, okay, I get it, but I still don't have my goal, right? Or I still don't know what it is that I want. And the anomalous action challenge was created to really just getting a bunch of variables and energy and new options and new pathways and new doors circulating in your external environment. From my transurfing practice, I know the times that I've been stuck, the only thing that would sort of get me out of my reality rut is taking anomalous action. And I feel as though if anyone is challenged to either see the different ways in which a goal can materialize or an intention can come to fruition, or for somebody that absolutely doesn't know what it is they want, right? Somebody that's really, really, really stuck and having a hard time or a challenging time just connecting with a new goal, this is the way to do it. And then the rapid materialization magic, I feel as though Vadim is pretty good at stressing to us that we shouldn't force our reality too much when we do want to see results. And when we are using these methods, with statements such as the mirror doesn't respond on our time frame. And all of this stuff is true. And all of this stuff is extremely helpful when it comes to, creating your reality, because if you don't heed those words of advice, you could theoretically create a ton of excess potential in your reality and invite in balancing forces that are going to make it more challenging for you to see that goal through to the end. Now, what I feel Reality Transurfing was missing, the knowledge as presented by Vadim Zeland, is how to absolutely maximize those concepts that are going to help you to materialize that version of reality as quickly as possible. So it's kind of like you do want to pay attention to those words of warning of not, loading up an intention or a goal with too much excess potential. But at the same time, I created this rapid materialization magic, which is my own personal set of tools to do absolutely everything in there that I can do. All right, a fellow Georgian just joined. Now I'm telling everybody now when I'm in Georgia, they're like, what nationality are you? I say, I'm Georgian. They always laugh. They're like, what? So the reason that I feel as though these are best used in conjunction with each other now is because it's kind of like one precedes the one before it. So having a challenging time finding your goal, anomalous action. Found your goal, but you're still feeling some internal resistance, quantum clearing method. Got the quantum clearing junk out of your system, then it's rapid materialization magic, right? So anomalous action helps you to find what it is that you want to do. Quantum clearing method moves all the stuff out of the way that's kind of holding you back, and then kicking in to materializing it as rapidly as you possibly can, as like now sort of disconnecting yourself from all those limiting beliefs and past programming and old things no longer serving you. As soon as you've released yourself from that stuff, then you can kind of like dive into the thing, just balls out like as hard as you can,
Yeah.
how I like to do it. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. Somebody asked, which one do you recommend starting with and why? So it really depends on where you're at. If you are still having a hard time discovering what is intended for you, a new goal, I absolutely recommend the Anomalous Action Challenge, 100%. You got to exit that reality rut. Now, if you know what it is that you want to do and you're uncertain, should I do the quantum clearing to get away the limiting beliefs and all that stuff first, or just dive into it, it's really up to you. I believe that if you feel you're ready to just like go all in and do it, start with the rapid materialization magic. If you're feeling like you're still not believing it's possible, or your energy levels are low, or you've got some sort of negative internal dialogue happening, or whatever you feel is getting in your way of going like warp speed, then go back to the quantum clearing, do that, and then move forward to the rapid materialization magic. I want to state what I did, and this is primarily the reason that I set this call up, is because I want everyone to know exactly what my process has been, because for me personally, I cracked the code. I really do feel that I cracked the code. And this is exactly what I feel will help so many of you really take it to the next level. So I did the quantum clearing method a few years ago, I did it for a general reality, right? For those of you that remember, if you listen to the quantum clearing method audios, I want to feel loved, secure, and in harmony with my environment. And then I expanded on that a little bit later, but it was very general. I want to feel good. I want to have a nice reality. I want to feel loved. I want to feel in harmony. I was having a lot of like, stuff with my family, and I was feeling isolated with my new home. And there were just some general, there was general balancing that I wanted to do. And I used the quantum clearing method to help resolve a new financial path and some peace with my relationships in my life. Now, when I started with the quantum clearing method, turning it into an actual course, and then I realized this new goal of wanting to move to a foreign country, what I did is I used the quantum clearing methods to help me in the moment with any resistance that came up about that specific goal. So this is what I'm recommending everyone to do. Do your general quantum clearing method of, a very broad desire for what it is that you want to see. I want to feel, more freedom. I want to feel unhindered. I want to feel, like my life is more full. Whatever it is that you want, do your quantum clearing method on that. And then when you know for certain an immediate goal that you want to go after, like a new profession or a side hustle, or you want to get rid of everything you own and backpack around the world, whatever it is that you want to do, use the quantum clearing method to help you when you are encountering any resistance telling you that you can't do that, right? Like internal stuff, external stuff. I use the quantum clearing method to manage both what it was that I was telling myself. Oh my God, this is crazy. This is a country that might go to war with Russia. This is, irresponsible. I use the quantum clearing to like, okay, so let's unpack this. Why do you feel it's irresponsible? What does that mean? What does that look like? When is the last time you felt like that, or you told yourself that? And I would still do that exact method to attack those beliefs that were anti-Georgia. And then if my world presented to me via a pendulum in my reality, a relationship, something that came inside that was anti-Georgia, and I felt an immediate response to sort of retract and take back my goal. Okay, yeah, people aren't agreeing. I would do the same thing with the quantum clearing. Why is their opinion necessary for me to, why do I feel like I need to agree with this? Why do I feel uncertain when somebody's opinion contradicts what it is that I want? And I would really use this method anytime I sense any resistance internally or externally. I use the quantum clearing method to help me kind of like pull myself out of that vortex of me giving up on my intention. And then I did all the stuff in the magic materialization, just not taking no for an answer, not taking any shit from my reality, not taking any shit from the people in my life, not taking, even like the house being renovated and it falling massively behind on schedule. At a certain point, I saw myself, I saw my reality, I saw what was not happening in the time frame that I had set. Was there something more that I could do? Yes, but I had to get in there and actually do that and like use those methods to keep reality moving at my time frame, also maintaining a little flexibility and understanding that it's not all going to be 100%, but I could definitely see the parts where I could get in there and do some more work, and it worked. If I had been Renee from 2 years ago, I would have left the house project in Tbilisi half renovated and would have left it there and come back to then have to go back and do it at another point. But I used all of these skills and techniques and methods to get in there and do everything that I needed to do. And you guys obviously saw the results. It was a finished house. So they all sort of work with each other. And these are the different stages of reality creation, things that may be missing in your process, and exactly what it is that you can do to rectify those imbalances or that negative mindset or whatever, and just power punch it as hard as you can. So that's what I'm recommending.
So Ashlyn has a question. Hang on. What does your daily schedule for RT look like as a beginner where this isn't yet automatic?
Well, my daily schedule for RT is, now very different than what it looked like when I began. I have a video titled How to Become a Full-Time Reality Transurfer on TransurfingTV. I would definitely recommend watching that. If you're a beginner and you really want to go in like all the way, you're sold, you want to do it, immersion is the most effective way of doing it, really. Immersing yourself in the knowledge to the best of your ability. I recommend, and I do this myself whenever I feel, now these times are, fewer and far between these days, but if I ever feel myself reverting back, I immediately put on the audiobooks and keep them running at, just a high enough volume in the background so I know that they're there, not enough to distract me. I don't want to, overly distract myself and be listening to it all the time, because that's a pendulum too, right? But just to know that it's there, it keeps my brain tuned into reality transurfing. So you got to immerse yourself. People that get away from reading, listening to the audio, not engaged with the community. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but when I found transurfing, I was in my late 30s. That's 35 plus years of programming that can easily override any new knowledge. So it's about keeping yourself on the transurfing, on the transurfing tip, like not letting it go, not letting it go. You let it go, you're going to revert back. So immersion, immersion, immersion.
Pasha, go ahead and take yourself off mute.
Okay.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited. I love Renee. So I have two questions, one about Renee and then one for myself. So the first question is, as an example, Renee, when you said that the house renovations were not going the way that you had thought that they would, I wanted to know specifically, if you're willing to share, how you addressed that to get the action going from the way you didn't want it to go the way you did want it to go, and in that time parameter. And that leads to my second question, which your first answer will probably answer. So my company is 1213 Jewelry. I'm kind of all over, so you might have seen me on there.
Oh yes.
And
I love your comments. Thank you so much. You're so supportive and so kind. Thank you. And it's nice to know there's a fellow jewelry person that's
yeah. When I first saw that you were jewelry, I'm like, oh, that's so amazing. So yeah, I love you very much. You're amazing. So then my question is, in my business, so I want to make it so that if everyone here can gain from my second question, so it's not just personal and applies to them also. But for example, in my business, I keep hitting a income threshold, and I don't know if that's because there's other things in life I'm supposed to be doing, like coaching and writing books, or just so I know you've gone through this with your own businesses. So those are my two questions. Hopefully they're clear. And thank you.
Yes, they're clear for sure. So, God, if I could have had a video showing what happened at the house in Tbilisi,
right,
and what I did there, because I have to say, I probably really fucking scared the construction guys, like badly. Like they did not know what to think of me, because I was there by myself, right? And it's a very patriarchal like society, it's very male dominated.
Right.
So it was, you know, it was a
I
meditation.
understand because I'm Jewish, so yeah,
Oh,
I fully
so yeah,
feel.
you got it. You got it. So, this was the first time I'd ever done something like renovations
Right.
in a foreign country by myself on a time frame.
Yeah.
What I brought to the scenario was a bunch of shoulds, right? These guys should be going at this time frame. These guys should be cleaning up this stuff after they're done with this stage of the job. These guys should be all showing up here every day getting this done because that was what I wrote into the contract. There was like lots and lots and lots of shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
And at a certain point, I realized that those things were not going in the direction of my perceived shoulds.
Right.
And I sat on the sidelines, getting angry, creating, you know, animosity and a lot of excess potential, being very agitated when it was very clearly not going in the direction that I wanted it to go.
Right.
And at a certain point, I was just like, you know what, fuck this. I stood up and I put on my sweats and I just started going nuts in the house. I started collecting debris. I started really just absolutely cleaning things and taking the bull by the horns and calling people over and saying, okay, what do we need to do to get this done? I turned into the contractor. I turned into the cleaning crew. I probably hauled out of there on my own at least a ton, literally a ton of debris. By the time that the job was done, the pile of debris was taller than I was and probably about 10 feet wide. I mean,
But
it was a
it
huge
felt
pile.
great though. Didn't it feel great though? When you do that, it feels great. It's incredible how empowering.
Well, yes, it did feel great. It was tiring. And this is where, you know, I think a lot of people sort of cut themselves off at the knees. And, you know, you can exhaust everything in you, spiritually, mentally, physically, you know, emotionally. You can exhaust everything in you, but
Right.
if it is to fulfill an intention and materialize that slide as rapidly as you can, it's absolutely worth it.
Okay.
Was I feeling it at the time that it was 100% positive?
No.
I was happy that I had the strength to do it. I didn't
Right.
want it to come to that point,
Right.
but I was happy that I could at least answer that call and I did it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
I know exactly. Yes, yes. And
Looking,
you're helping me so much because I do that a lot. I'll get to a point where I'm just, that's it, I've had it. And I just put on the hat of everything and do everything. And I might feel like I'm going to collapse, but on the other side of it, I cleared something out. So listening to how you handle it helps me to understand if how I'm handling things is a way that goes along with the protocol and the teachings. Yeah.
so I actually felt at a certain point that, and I know this doesn't sound very transurfing, but I'm going to just be honest with you about my process. The loneliness of
Mhm.
being away from my boyfriend and my two dogs,
Right.
the anger at the dudes that were like, a woman shouldn't be here doing this job, you know,
Right.
the anger at the lack of progress, all
Right.
these negative things. I was like, okay, you know how to turn lead into gold, now fucking turn it into gold, right? So I took
Right.
all those negative emotions and I didn't try to diminish them or say, oh, you shouldn't be feeling like that. I actually went into them even more and made myself really angry and
Yeah.
really lonely. And then I
Right.
took all that energy and I was just like, ah, you know, just running through the house, just cleaning everything. And the
Yeah.
guys were like, oh my God, stay out of
Right.
her way because she's insane.
Right.
And she could potentially kill one of us in this mode. Just
Right.
get your job done as quickly as you can so we can get out of here because we're finished with crazy. And
Right.
sure enough, they finished the work really, really fast when they saw
Yeah.
me go into that mode.
Yeah.
By the time I cleaned up the place and they got done with their work, the
Right.
cleaners came in, and within 2 days, the place was looking like how you guys saw it on the video. But
Amazing.
it took me going into like batshit crazy transurfing mode that was
Right.
just like, you know, and
Yeah.
it worked. Now, I know that there's times when that mode probably is not appropriate.
Mhm.
In this scenario, I really did analyze the situation, and I thought, I'm going to have to break up the script. I'm
Yeah.
sitting here on the sidelines acting like the
Mhm.
woman that is American, that shouldn't have come here without her boyfriend, and it's not a woman's job. And I was playing into that script. I
Right.
stood up and I broke the script and I went into beast mode, as Maggie
Right.
called it. And it worked. So as long as you're not damaging anything, right?
Right.
That's the
Mhm.
main thing. Don't damage any relationships with this mode. If they're contractors, if they're people that you are employing to do something and you don't feel as though they're going to drop you as a client, if it's something that can sustain this sort of energy, go for
Right.
it. Now, you're
Right.
not going to want to do this with people you live with every day because obviously that's going to create
It's not in the way.
it's
But there's a difference too. You weren't going after them. You were going after the stuff. Like, I'm
I was
getting
going
this
after the
moving
house.
now,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
You know, and I have to say that when I went into that mode, those dudes did start working faster because I feel that they were like, they were a little bit scared, but at the same time, they were probably inspired because they probably never saw a woman act like that. you
Yeah.
know? And they
Yeah.
just didn't even know what to think. So they were like, okay, cool. And I put on music. I put on like real hardcore music and it was like just
Oh.
so crazy. And they were like, okay, yeah, let's do it, you know? So I transurfed the situation.
Yeah, that helps me tremendously because I grew up in the New York City and Jersey and Philly. I lived half my life and then California after that. Anyway, I go into beast mode really easily because between being Jewish and being from the north, yeah, and having my own business, etc. So I don't want to keep you too long or talk too much, but beast mode, yeah, everything that you said, and thank you again because that punctuates that when I do that, yeah, it has the same effect. And sometimes not on physical circumstances, but if you would say more esoteric spiritual circumstances, it just clears everything out, lines everything up, and gets it moving again.
Absolutely. And the best way to decide if it's the right thing to do or not is look at the result that it's creating.
Right.
Is it generating progress, or are things deteriorating even further because of your actions?
Right.
And what I saw was it was generating progress. So I just went with it, right? So that's
Right.
kind of a good barometer of, do you keep going with that mode or do you, hold back? The other question that you asked about feeling like a financial, lull and figuring out if there's what you can do more. And I really just, the anomalous action challenge,
Right.
the more you can go into that, the more options that are going to pop up for you. And, I mean, for me, I took this anomalous action challenge the last time. I did it kind of silently. I'll have to admit my days are now pretty much every day is anomalous action challenge. I don't feel right if I'm not taking anomalous action. But
Right.
this last one that I did, I went on the trip to Georgia with Andrew and I realized that there was something there for me. I bought the house, went there after it closed, and within 2 weeks, Putin did the, Russian immobilization. Georgia became flooded with Russians, and the property values absolutely exploded. And my real estate agent texted me shortly after, it was like 2 days after the mobilization, and said, your property's probably worth double of what you just paid for it now.
Oh my
And I was
gosh,
like,
that's so wonderful.
thanks, anomalous action.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's wonderful.
You know?
I'm so happy for you. My gosh.
Yeah,
Proud
it
of
was quite surreal to see property
you.
values going up that way and that happening. So
Wow.
thing is with anomalous action, you got to trust it. You don't know where it's going to take you,
Great. Okay. Great.
but you're going to go somewhere more so than existing in a reality rut. You know what I'm saying?
That's
It's
the
just
perfect sentence. Yeah, you're going to go somewhere better than the existing reality rut. That's perfect.
exactly. So anomalous action, I'm a lifer.
Nice.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessings. Blessings, Renee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pesha. All right, Shannon, how about you go and take yourself off mute?
Hello, Renee.
Hi, Shannon.
So, first of all, I am super proud of you. You're a work of art to witness and watch and set an example for all the reality transurfers out there.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. Second, if you're new to reality transurfing, you are so blessed because I found reality transurfing, I don't know how long ago it was. What was it? 3 years, Renee?
Yeah, probably about 3 years ago.
Yeah, I got the big book and researched, and then reality transurfed Renee a mile away from my house so I could actually drink
Go roller skating together.
So weird. But reality transurfing did not resonate with me from the book. I love the book. I love the vocabulary of it. I liked having the different concepts of things that I already was using, but it didn't provide practical things. And Tufty didn't resonate with me. Even the live scroll stuff, it just didn't flow for me. And so your practical things that you've been doing this year are just a gift to everybody. The quantum clearing method, this latest rapid reality manifestation, whatever. I can't keep all of them straight, but anyway.
I know, there's a lot of words there.
There's a lot of words. Anomalous action. I got it all though, but at least it's practical steps, and you can jump in any of those little sections with whatever it is you're wanting to create. And so it's really a gift if you're just getting started to have those steps. Instead of just concepts that Vadim gives, you actually have something that you can put into action, which is so good. So good.
Bridge. It's the bridge.
Yep. Needed it. My question. So I did the quantum clearing method right when you were launching it. To completely get out of one situation, the ex-boyfriend situation, and clear up that space and energy for my reality that I'm creating. And it took off, like reality just, I mean, the shift happened and all these things are happening, and you know, manifesting things like a motherfucker. And
Chaos reigns.
and I'm going into this next phase though. So and I have a time frame. I've been arguing with the alternative space. We're having disagreements because it's throwing a lot in my reality to do, and I'm loving it. And at the same time, I'm like trying to hold it off. I'm trying to, like, you know what you're talking about with the timeline as it's created, it comes into the timeline, and we really don't create with how it comes in.
Yeah, how it merges. Yeah.
Mine's flooding into my timeline now, and I'm like, whoa, 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 but you know, give me 6 months, and then it'll kind of stall. It listens, but then everything kind of stalls, and then I'm like, well, you can go a little bit, like,
Yeah.
having this kind of like back and forth, me in the alternative space. I want to do another quantum clearing method around my future old job. So I'm leaving my current job in 6 months. It's my 55th birthday, revolves around residual income after I turn 55. So I have to wait that 6 months. I'm trying to, right? And I'm just trying to sustain what's going on so that it can then take off from that 6 months, or at least 2 months before, then I can manage it.
Yeah.
So my question is, do I do the quantum clearing method now to start getting rid of some of the programming? Like it's giving me anxiety, leaving this 23-year commitment,
Yeah.
you know, this marriage to this job. And I want to clear that out, but I'm also a little bit leery of clearing it out now and then having this wave of fortune come in that I can't manage both at the same time. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. It totally makes sense. And, you know, this is kind of the, so was that the summation of your question? So
That's the summation of the question.
On my mouth. Okay. So, the kind of the one part about reality transurfing, and Vadim actually talks about this in some ways subtly in the book, but I address this really with that video, Chaos Reigns, is there is always weirdness and static and variables coming in too quickly, or you not being exactly ready to let something go. There's always transitions from lifelines are never smooth. And well, I don't want to say never. I don't want to say never. Sometimes they can be. From my experience, being a pretty extreme person and setting very lofty intentions regularly, for me, I'm making pretty decent sized jumps. So I am now accustomed to correlating the size of the jump with the level of chaos that is going to ensue because of what I've put into motion. And the more that I can expect the chaos in a, you know, in advance and sort of like brace myself. This one with the Tbilisi move, I mean, this has been epic. It was an epic slide. It was an epic set of circumstances that all sort of formulated and came together and materialized in this thing very quickly. I mean, I just went to Georgia 2.5 months ago, you know what I'm saying? And now I own a fully furnished, paid for home over there. And I know I've got my space background here, so you can't see the chaos that I am living in now. It is extreme. I mean, it's like super, super, super nuts. But I also sort of prepared myself, and it's not giving me anxiety. Now, it would give me anxiety, all these variables crisscrossing each other and things happening too fast or not quick enough, and me feeling somewhat out of control, but sort of just letting yourself go into it. Like, you know, the one thing that I've been telling myself over and over and over since I got back, and like 2 nights ago, I did start to have a little bit of a nervous breakdown because I was really concerned about how my dogs are gonna, you know, get over there. We know how they're gonna get over there, but it's not pretty, right? All the getting rid of all of our material possessions, having to deal with, you know, basic things like banking and how we're gonna get verification codes on our phones with having international numbers. So all kinds of things. And I started to trip myself out and go into a little bit of an induced transition. And I was like, wait, this is an epic move. This is an epic life track switch. It's not going to come without a hitch. You're going to fucking pay for it, girl. Like, this is your payment up front for it. So the 2 things that I suggest.
That is not the answer.
What?
Damn it. No.
Yeah, you got to pay for it. So the 2 things that I suggest is your slide, right? That end frame that you're working towards, use that as your reprieve. Help yourself to feel more comfortable in those moments where you're not happy that you've still got 6 months left at the job, where you're wondering how it's all going to work out and it's going haywire and it's chaotic. Go back into your mind. And for me, honestly, I can neutralize any of that negativity that has transpired during a given day just by running my slide at night for 5 minutes before bed of me in the house in Tbilisi. Both the dogs have made it safely. We're there. It's the holidays. Everything worked out. Everything in America's gone. All the account stuff worked itself out fine. And I just kind of like fall into that slide to help me ease myself in my reality, because I wish there was a magic bullet. If you're changing life tracks and it's a true life track switch, there's going to be chaos. It's just about letting yourself go into it. And yesterday I actually I didn't tell anybody about this other than Tears knows, but in the midst of all this, yesterday I had a minor surgery done, you know, and here I am like kind of panicking the night before. Oh my God, I can't believe that in all this, I have to have this minor surgery done. And on the drive to the surgery with Eric, I'm like, you know what? I really love getting surgeries done in moments of absolute chaos, just to throw something else into the, you know, like, let's go as hard as we can into the chaos and kind of make a game out of it. You know, I mean, if you can't control it, at least get it to a place where you are an entertained spectator reveling in the chaos.
There we go. All right.
While still taking action. You know what I'm saying? That's hardcore. That's hardcore. And that is someone who deserves that life track switch. Now, if you're put off by the chaos and you backtrack and you stop, which, by the way, as I suggested, even if you put the brakes on a little bit, it doesn't mean that all the variables are going to stop flowing in your direction. You can start it up back later if you want to, if you've decided to kind of like, you know, pump the brakes a little, you can start it back up. It doesn't mean that you've stopped reality. You're just kind of like pulling off at a pit stop, but you can get right back on that highway. So don't, you know, if it feels like too much and you genuinely want to pull off for a pit stop, pull off for a pit stop. You know what I'm saying? Don't force it. But at the same time, driving down the freeway at 120 miles an hour with no doors on while working on the engine, do it. Do it. No, I'm kidding. That's a little bit too much, but you know what I'm saying.
I do. Awesome. All right, then I'll do the quantum clearing method. It's like I'm in two lives right now. I'm walking two realities. I have the old reality. I still frail. I still rent myself out. And then I have all of this other stuff that I really just want to keep doing and not want to do this other thing. I don't want to frail it anymore. I really am done. But the more I keep giving energy to the new life track, the more things are coming. I'm like, it's got to be April 14th, universe.
You know, though, and this is the cool thing about, you know, age, you know, that it always ends up kind of like everything always works itself into, you know, I mean, what's going to happen? You're just going to freeze into a suspended state and stay there forever? No way. It's all going to go, just trusting that it's all playing out. I mean,
yep.
That's it.
Oh, I thank you.
That's it. All right. Love you, girl.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. So I had a question from the group, Renee, and I've seen this question a couple of times. Basically, the gist is, what do you do when you don't have 2 days, 2 full days to do the quantum clearing method? What do you recommend?
So I recommend splitting it up into 2 days or 3 days, but trying to do the second part of the quantum clearing method in 1 full day. Don't give yourself a break on that part, right? So if you do all your writing things in advance, you could take actually as many days as you want to do that. You could take a week if you wanted to, but try to reserve at least a full day to really go into each of those things. Because this is like, for those of you that are familiar with things like EST or some of those you know, some of those executive coaching things where they bring a bunch of people in and then they like psychologically break them down, you know, over a period of a couple days to like build them back up again. This is kind of what this quantum clearing method is about, but you're doing it to yourself, right? So you don't want to sort of like cheat yourself out of that time of diving in to each of those items to an extent where you become positively overwhelmed with yourself and with those items. Those are things that you want to go into your own world. And that second day, when you look at each of those things and you break each of those things down piece by piece, you don't want to split that day up into multiple days, because then you're not going to, in my opinion, from my personal experience with it, you know, sitting there and doing this for 8 hours, by that last 2 hours, I was in absolute like ecstatic awe at how stupid so much of that stuff was, that I got myself to a point where I was just cracking up at how much importance I had given certain thoughts, how ridiculous I was being, how small I was being, how much emphasis I put on other people's opinions of what it was that I did or who I was as a person. All of that kind of stuff, it took me sitting in that stuff for hours to get to that point where I was just like, okay, I see it now. I see it. I've got it. I've got it. But I think I had to break myself down psychologically for me to get myself to that point. So the exercises suggested in 2 days, one is writing out your items, what will help me, what will hurt me. The next day is going into each of those items, writing down the what will help me, what will hurt me, and doing your little, you know, writing project. Take as much time as you want. But when you go into it, I would highly suggest keeping that in one chunk. And if you can't get it all done in one day, resume it the very next day. Don't break it up. That would be my personal advice. But again, as I suggest with all of my stuff, you can, as long as you're benefiting, whatever works for you, whatever you feel is the right thing to do and you derive benefit, there is no wrong here. But for me, that's what I needed, is I kind of needed to break myself down, you know? So that's what I'm suggesting.
Great, thank you. So Bob put in here something about the Rapid Magic course, comes across as Neville, as though it is Neville Goddard's The Feeling is the Secret, and so far he's not had much success with feeling-based stuff. What do you suggest?
Well, for the first part of your question, that it sounds as though it's Neville Goddard. I'm not actually familiar with Neville Goddard. I know, you know, what people have told me, and I've watched a few videos here and there. I'm a purist. I'm a transurfing purist. So I just believe in these concepts, and then whatever holes that I found, I just created methods that have worked for me. As far as not having success with feeling-based stuff, if you truly feel as though the feeling it and seeing it and sensing it and smelling it and sensually experiencing it and all that stuff doesn't do anything for you, then I would lean more onto the action, right? Making yourself physically move in reality. For me, it's an absolute combination of the two. And this last intention that I had to get this house bought and set up, and all the, you know, all the gears turning in the direction of me moving to this foreign country, it took both, because it's been so extreme. So it's all that sensually experiencing it in those few moments that I've chosen throughout my day, and also taking extreme action, compensate the visualization or the sensual experience of the thing with more action and going more into what you can do in the physical world rather than the metaphysical. For me, it's both, but I can definitely understand. And to be honest, like there were a number of years in my transurfing, my transurfing journey, the first few years, I didn't use slides at all. I actually, and Andrew and I were talking about this one night over dinner in Tbilisi. He's like, I don't really like slides because I like to live in reality. I don't want to waste my time thinking about some other reality that isn't in front of me. And I was like, I totally get that, because I felt like that too. I'm not a firm believer in visualization because of all the, conventional reasons people use visualization. And I mean, that's kind of why maybe I haven't gravitated towards things like Neville Goddard, is I kind of feel like it's a bunch of stuff that doesn't really mean anything at the end of the day. The only thing that really, really, really means something at the end of the day is action. But if you can do the metaphysical with the action, then you're super powerful, right? But if the metaphysical doesn't, essentially experiencing all that stuff doesn't exactly resonate with you, the action will absolutely get you there too. But just do more. Make certain that you're maximizing your level of action. You can't skimp on that one, because then you're just not going to get in. You're not going to move as quickly as you could. So that would be my advice.
That's why for me, the money course and then the anomalous action course helped me a lot, because picturing $10,000, $100,000, $1 million, I have to just admit, it didn't make sense. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
But when I can think about, oh, I'd like to experience this and I'd like to experience this, and that's going to take a certain amount of money, then I could incorporate it. But just to say, oh, I need $10,000 on a spreadsheet, it's like, I don't know what that is.
So that's a really good point. And that's essentially what I was trying to get at, is like, I don't visualize and then take action. I take action and then I visualize to really understand where I want my action to lead me, right? So it's kind of like this reinforcement, and it's like I'm calling all of the stuff behind the mirror to kind of like do what it can do to show me that my action is in fact meaningful, that my slide is materializing. And then the more action I can take, the faster this thing starts to play out, allowing me to visualize the thing and really feel like, oh my God, it's actually working. And then I feel super powerful. So then I take more action and it all just kind of feeds itself. You know what I'm saying? But starting something with visualization, I don't know. That it's not me. I'm an action-oriented person, and physical movement with the sensual experience of it in advance. That's what does it for me.
Okay. Malcolm, go ahead and take yourself off mute.
Hi, Renee. Great call
Hey,
so far. Hello, everybody else. Hi, wave. Yeah, I'm going to have to restart my quantum clearing. I can figure that one from some of the conversation going on here. But my question is, I've got it in my head that I should have a couple of books on the go, and I really am, well, a certain amount of complacency, laziness, and ill discipline. So I'm really looking for any tips beyond that. How did you kickstart your writing? Because I take it you're not, prior to your book, you weren't a writer. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, I never had written anything officially. I mean, I had written a lot of stuff for like the Facebook group and on Instagram and, the courses and those sorts of things. I had written all that. And, I had this like gnawing in me for at least a couple of years of, you got to get this book going. You got to get this book going. And, I have to admit, this is probably a little bit like not very transurfy, but it's just been the case for me. I kind of started that book so I didn't have to feel that gnawing feeling anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't want to feel that complacent, like I had finally put it up on one of my goal. You know, I had these big, huge poster boards hanging up in my office where I would write long-term goals, goals that were maybe 6 months out, and then immediate goals. And that book was there. And that one just kept like, my eyes would go to it first. And I started feeling like more guilt and more, it was more emotionally loaded than all the other items. So then I just started to feel like, this is it. I can't keep ignoring it. I've absolutely got to start it. So what I would suggest to you, do you have a designated workspace in your house?
It's a very tiny house that I'm in, so not a lot, but I've I've actually acquired a set of overalls which I'm deciding I'm going to put on of a morning for when I'm in work mode. That's as far as I've got. That's the space, it's clothing.
Okay, so I see a couple of walls. You've got a wall next to you, you've got a wall behind you. Are these?
4 of them, yep.
Okay, so what I would suggest, let me show you really quick. I think I threw most of them out, but 1 second. This was, shoot, you're not going to be able to see it because of my background. Okay, it's a large piece of poster board. It's about 3.5 by 2.5 feet. So it's like, you know, half my body length and about, you know, a third of my body length. Big, you know, very big. And what I did was long-term goals, kind of intermediate goals, like things within the next year, the next 6 months, and things that I need to start now. I made 3 of them. And I wrote everything out. So long-term goal was, the only one on there actually was the book. And then the rest were things with courses and other content. And then the short term were like, you know, things that I could do every single day that were small little things that would sort of inch me along to some bigger goals, like making a video every day on YouTube, or every day thinking about different courses that I could make or whatever. And then the intermediate were, you know, the 6 months out, and then the big ones were like the book. So if you write these things out and you put these poster boards up on your wall, it's really hard to ignore them. And it's really hard to sit and be satisfied in complacency mode when you have these things staring at you. For me personally, and this is why I love my Goals and Doors book so much, pulling things out of my mind into the physical world in form of writing them out, especially when they're taped in big, huge black marked letters on the wall, you know, then this is like me staring at this future reality that I need to take action to materialize, that I can't just ignore any longer. You've got to make yourself a little bit sick of yourself being in complacent mode. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Make it worse. If you're feeling complacent and you don't like the way that it feels, make it worse. You know, go into it like even more, to where then you're like, okay, that's it. I'm taking action now because I just can't take it anymore. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. There's a little bit of reverse masochism that it needs to be applied, I think, by the sounds of.
It works for me. It totally works for me. You know, I can understand if it doesn't work for everyone, but it works for me. And like I said, seeing things physically, especially up on a wall every single day, really challenging to ignore that after a couple of weeks. You really will start feeling like a piece of shit.
I've got a whiteboard that's about half the size of what you're talking about, which I've been doing drawings on, but I think it's going to be wiped and written on. Yeah, that'll be the plan.
I mean, that would be my advice. And, you know, if you can do something as simple as 3 things a day, write in your goals and doors book, and every day you just cross off one thing, you know, put some sort of systematic goal in regards to taking a step, and do that every single day. Say to yourself, every single day, I'm going to write out 3 steps that I can take. And every day I'm going to take at least one of those steps. And no matter what, don't make any excuses why you even take a day off from that. Start to make that your new mode of operation. And after like a week, you're going to feel as though, you know, it's not necessarily the most comfortable thing to not take those steps, right? At first, it's a little bit hard to like keep going on it. But after a while, it just becomes so, it's you move that from an uncomfortable movement into a new habit. And once it becomes a new habit, the not taking action is going to become uncomfortable.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's what I would do. Keep me posted. I'm curious to hear about how the book goes.
Okay. Yeah, you had to throw that in there, didn't you?
Yes. Yep.
Well, I'll give you a title. That's the wee teaser. Love, Joy, and Imagination is the kind of, that's the title.
Awesome. Do it. Do it because I'm waiting to read it.
Cool.
Oh, yes. Somebody says here, I did that to quit cigarettes. I eventually started to make myself smoke even when I kind of wanted to stop, then finally allow myself to actually run the fuck away. What's happening now is all my smoking friends really want to stop suddenly. That's actually what I did to quit smoking too. Each time I smoked, afterwards, I'd be like, God, why am I doing this? You know, I smell like cigarettes, my lungs hurt, you know, it's so gross. But then I kind of like forced myself to keep smoking, and I would actually go into that mode when I was smoking the cigarette to where it became painful. Each drag, I was like, oh my God, this really sucks. I hate this so much. And then finally I got myself to a point where I was just like, I gotta quit. It's really not anything that is even semi-pleasurable anymore. So yeah, sometimes, you know, the only way out is through, you know, and if you really kind of go into that like discomfort of what you feel is holding you back, maybe you can burst the balloon to where it's like, then you're just out of it, you know, if that makes sense. I know some of these things are abstract in my mind and sound like rambling, but that's kind of it.
I'm not at that stage yet.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Welcome.
So Laura has a question about how do you sustain such focus, Renee? It is incredible. What are your best sustained focus tactics?
Well, my goals and doors book, huge, writing things out. I really do believe in the anomalous action challenge and learning how to take meaningful anomalous action and having each anomalous action, sort of getting yourself to a place where each anomalous action presents to you half a dozen more anomalous actions that you can take, and getting yourself into a mode where not taking action becomes uncomfortable, you know, knowing, like for me, the alternative space, all the variations of reality that are available to me, all the heightened levels of reality that I can't see yet. I know I'm not going to get there by being complacent and sitting on the couch watching Netflix. I know that's not going to happen, but I do know that when I take action, I go to these places. So it's like, you know, it's like Pavlov's dog, right? The dog that salivates just at the thought of getting food. I'm salivating at the thought of future realities, and the food is kind of like the anomalous action. Like I know that if I do this thing, because I've proven to myself where anomalous action takes me, what it gets me, just like this property. I literally just bought it, and within 2 weeks, it doubled in value. This was a product of anomalous action. So even talking about that gets me salivating in a way, right? Wow, if I could access that version of reality and those gifts and that wave of fortune by taking anomalous action, where can I take more? Where can I take more? What can I do? And I become hyper focused on looking to ways in which I can take more action in my reality. And staying focused for me really just becomes about knowing that the end of that road that I'm traveling down and the doors I'm going through, that the end of that road puts me in a state of being that feels so good. I feel so accomplished. Like when I left the house in Tbilisi and it was fully set up and it was beautiful and I almost wanted to cry because I didn't want to leave it. And it was so awesome. And I hugged Andrew. Andrew's staying there for the 2 months until I return, house sitting. And I hugged him and he's like, I can't wait until you come back with the dogs and Eric. And that's what staying focused got me, right? It got me the house already. And everything's going to be there for when we arrive, and it's going to be amazing, and it's going to be the holidays, and it's going to be beautiful, and you know, our overhead slashed by 99%, and you know, that's what staying focused gets me. So in short, stay focused on what you want to feel and what your goal is going to bring you, and just keep yourself tuned to that to help you take the actions every day. And don't stop. Don't make excuses for yourself. Get out of the habit of making excuses for yourself. You know, get out of that habit. That's the best thing that you could do to help yourself stay focused.
So hang on a second. Laura's question is kind of a follow-on. It's kind of a similar thing. Do you have a morning routine or something you require to begin the day, even reminding yourself of your anomalous action?
Well, I mean, I went over this pretty well in my Wave of Fortune chapter of my book, Tale of Practical Reality Transurfing, the Wave of Fortune. Yeah, I mean, I gear myself up, you know, every morning to take as much action as I can. And at the end of the day, I feel satisfied with myself. That satisfaction provides for me, you know, my image coming in a little clearer of that reality that I want to experience. This helps me to like tune into it even more. And the next morning when I wake up, it's like, okay, it's actually happening. The analogy that I use is when you go to the gym, the first couple weeks or a month's really hard because you don't see results, right? But after a month and you're like, you know, you see results in the mirror and you've lost 5 pounds or your face is a little slimmer, you're like, all right. So then it makes it easier to get yourself to the gym. So, you know, going down your path and making certain that you're acknowledging those subtle shifts, getting your energy circulating in the morning to take more action so you can see more of those shifts, and using it to just kind of like snowball the whole thing. Making certain that you stay positive every morning, getting yourself into a very, very positive routine. But if you didn't read my Wave of Fortune chapter, I would definitely suggest that for sure.
So then I don't remember which course it is, Renee, where you talk about the goals and doors book.
Mo Money, I did.
More money.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mo Money is definitely
Because Deborah is asking where this comes from, or what are you referring to?
yeah, it's the
So.
it's the 4th module of Mo Money. I suggest everybody to read Tufty, do the Goals and Doors book. But if you yeah, and it's in Rapid Materialization also. I suggest it on the final lesson of that course as well. But if you type into the search in the ITI Facebook group, Goals and Doors book, you'll see posts that I've made about it as well. Very,
Okay.
very powerful tool that again helps you to stay on track and remain focused and write down. The main thing is for me, thoughts floating in my mind about things that I can do or ways in which I can achieve my goal, they don't really work until I pull them out. Yep, I've got to see it on paper. I've got to, right now we have a whiteboard in our living room where we have a list of all the things we need to do before get on that flight to Georgia Day. And we have a habit that we write things and we cross them out to make ourselves feel like we're really knocking the stuff off. But if I think about something, and my partner does it as well, if I think about something in the moment and I do it in that moment and it's not written on the board, I go and I write it on the board anyway and cross it out just so I can feel like, okay, that's another one. It's another one. That's another one. Like I'm just like a reality action mercenary. Just taking heads off.
Nice. I love it. All right. Ashlyn has a question. Can we navigate to timelines of obvious physical change? What's our relationship to aging and illness, etc.? Just wondering what your insight is with materialism.
I was actually thinking about doing a video on this in the last week or so. I thought I need to do a new video on physically changing, your appearance physically changing and healing and becoming healthier. Somebody's got their mic on. This is, I think, something that happens naturally that you don't have to intend to do. I really, truly do believe that when you start to merge with a version of reality that's more so intended for you, your appearance starts to change. I think it's just a different version of you, and I've posted things in the groups a few times showing old pictures of me from 15 years ago where I look 15 years older than I look now. And I didn't try to do anything. It's just that I've managed to find myself to a reality where I feel more youthful, I feel healthier. I am healthier. I'm feeling more balanced. Anxiety is not crippling me. And all of these subtle shifts really do, help to cure things and help you to look younger, and you materialize in different form. And it is real, but it's, it's a product of merging with a variation of reality that's higher and more so intended for you. Yeah. Exactly, Shannon. You feel like you looked older 20 years ago than you look now. Exactly. Same thing here. The guys at the house, the construction guys, when I said that I was 43 years old, they wouldn't believe me, because in Georgia, a 43-year-old woman is like an elderly.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you see 43-year-old women and you're like, they're already grandmothers that looked super, 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 super aged. So they couldn't believe it. They thought that I was lying. And I'm like, no, I'll show you my passport. I'm 43 years old.
Yeah. I think being happy with yourself and your life and what you're doing contributes greatly to that. So most people don't believe my age either. So
huge. Yes.
Yeah. Well, this has been a lovely
thank
session.
you, everyone. Yeah. And if anyone has any additional questions, feel free to reach out to me or one of the moderators or admins on the courses, or, obviously, please bring actual questions about the courses, but enrolling for any of them, please reach out to one of us. And if you have any questions that pertain to the material, ask it in the Reality 2.0 Facebook group. If we run into more questions about the courses, where do we ask? Yep, go to the Reality 2.0 group. Perfect.
Perfect timing.
Awesome. Well, good job, Tirza. Thank you so much for moderating this. And thank you, everyone, for showing up. I hope you get your groove on with your realities, and can't wait to read your book, Malcolm.
Hey.
Looking forward to it. All right.
Hey, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Yeah, thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.
Bye.